Good evening. It's Tuesday night, and I thought I would film the devotion, which would go for tomorrow, Friday, tonight, and save me some time tomorrow morning. We're in Acts chapter 23, and we got through verse 11 earlier today. By the way, we had a great turnout at the parade today, Middletown Parade, our second parade we've been in this summer, and my thanks to all who participated. And we're looking forward to the block party Friday night from 6:30 p.m. to 8:45 p.m., and then 9 p.m. an outdoor movie. So if you're in the area, come on out. We'll have children's activities and youth activities, and certainly adult food, adult fun and food as well. Food, hot dogs, okay? And we're not having, T-bone steaks or anything. Anyways, on to Acts chapter 23, beginning at verse 12 tonight. When it was day, the Jews formed a conspiracy. Remember, Paul is being questioned. He's been interrogated. He's been imprisoned. And we just left off on him being, interviewed before the high priest and before others. And the high priest struck him. And the Lord encouraged Paul in verse 11. The Lord encouraged Paul in verse 11, saying, "Take courage, for as you have solemnly witnessed to my cause at Jerusalem, so you must witness at Rome also." Now, Romans, the epistle of Romans, a letter of Romans, was written to certainly the Roman people. And at the very end of Romans chapter 15, Paul says he wants to use them as a staging point to reach Spain. So Paul had made it to Rome, and he also actually wanted to get to Spain. And there's some evidence to say maybe he got to Spain, maybe not. That's a pretty big deal, though. The gospel in these first 30, 40 years after Jesus' life, death, and resurrection makes it that far all over the known world. So now, Jesus encourages Paul and it says in verse 12, "When it was day, the Jews formed a conspiracy and bound themselves under an oath, saying that they would neither eat nor drink until they had killed Paul." They're not going to eat or drink until they had killed Paul. And I guess they wanted to be manipulative in this way. There were more than 40 who formed this plot, verse 13. Now, 40 people, the whole area of Jerusalem, of Israel. I don't know why they just didn't say, okay, whatever, But verse 14, "They came to the chief priests and the elders and said, 'We have bound ourselves under a solemn oath to taste nothing until we have killed Paul. Now, therefore, you and the council notify the commander to bring him down to you as though you were going to determine his case by a more thorough investigation. And we, for our part, are ready.'" Where did I lose my spot? Darn it. "And we, for our part, are ready to slay him before he comes near the place." So they were ready. They were trying to form a plot to kill him, to slay him. Verse 16, "But the son of Paul's sister heard of their ambush, and he came and entered the barracks and told Paul." Now that's very interesting. The son of Paul's sister, so Paul's nephew, heard of their ambush, and he came and entered the barracks and told Paul. Very interesting. So now we notice and have a note about Paul's relative. Verse 17. "Paul called one of the centurions to him and said, 'Lead this young man to the commander, for he has something to report to him.'" Now, presumably a pagan, a non-believer, a non-Jewish, a non-Christian person is being used of God to protect Paul here. Verse 18, "So he took him and led him to the commander and said, 'Paul the prisoner called me to him and asked me to lead this young man to you, since he has something to tell you.' The commander took him by the hand and, stepping aside, began to inquire of him privately, 'What is it that you have to report to me?' And he said, 'The Jews have agreed to ask you to bring Paul down tomorrow to the council, as though they were going to inquire somewhat more thoroughly about him. So do not,'" verse 21, "so do not listen to them, for more than 40 of them are lying in wait for him, who have bound themselves under a curse not to eat or drink until they slay him. And now they are ready and waiting for the promise from you.' So the commander let the young man go, instructing him, 'Tell no one that you have notified me of these things.'" Verse 23, "Paul is about to be moved to Caesarea. And he called to him 2 of the centurions and said, 'Get 200 soldiers ready by the 3rd hour of the night to proceed to Caesarea with 70 horsemen and 200 spearmen.'" Now you hear that? Verse 23. He called 2 centurions and said, I'm just rereading this, "Get 200 soldiers. 40 people are under oath not to eat or drink until they kill him. They're trying to do an ambush. 40 people. They've got 200 soldiers they're getting ready by the 3rd hour of the night," which I believe might be actually midnight or 9 p.m. I guess night might be starting at 6 p.m., so 9 p.m., 3rd hour of the night, to proceed to Caesarea with 70 horsemen, 200 spearmen. 200 spearmen, 70 horsemen. He's got some pretty good protection here, okay? Verse 24. They were also to provide mounts to put Paul on and bring him safely to Felix the governor. And he wrote a letter having this form. Here's the letter starting at verse 26. Claudius Lysias, to the most excellent governor Felix, greetings. When this man was arrested by the Jews and was about to be slain by them, I came up to them with the troops and rescued him, having learned that he was a Roman. Again, he's a Roman citizen. And wanting to ascertain the charge for which they were accusing him, I brought him down to their council, the Jewish council. And I found him to be accused over questions about their law, the Jewish law. Jewish council would be their Sanhedrin, which would be like the Jewish high court, their Supreme Court, a big group, like 70 people, if I recall. And so anyways, it has to do with their law. But under no verse 29, and I found him to be accused over questions about their law, but under no accusation deserving death or imprisonment. He does not have an accusation deserving death or imprisonment. Verse 30. When I was informed that there would be a plot against the man, I sent him to you at once, also instructing his accusers to bring charges against him before you. So the soldiers, in accordance with their orders, took Paul and brought him by night to Antipatris. They bring him by night. But the next day, leaving the horsemen to go on with him, they returned to the barracks. When these had come to Caesarea and delivered the letter to the governor, they also presented Paul to him. Now Paul is presented to the governor. When he had read it, he asked from what province he was. And when he learned that he was from Cilicia, he said, I will give you a hearing after your accusers arrive also, giving orders for him to be kept in Herod's praetorium. So they're going to give him a hearing after the accusers arrive. He's in Herod's praetorium, which is the governor's official residence. So that's what's going on here. Chapter 24, we will begin Paul before Felix, and that should be Thursday morning. We're just kind of trekking our way through Acts, through the Acts of the Apostles, the Acts of the early church, the Acts of the Holy Spirit, and we're just seeing the gospel spread as Paul is about to make it to Rome. Have a good night, a good day, and the Lord bless you all.